Explore the potential of rookie Kendre Miller, a dynamic running back expected to share carries with Jamaal Williams during Alvin Kamara's looming suspension. Despite a recent meniscus tear, Miller's skills and the Saints' expectations make him a player to watch. Join us as we discuss Miller's outlook as a key contributor on the Saints' offense. Next on Draft Brothers. Okay, welcome to the Draft Brothers, powered by Champions Round, where we discuss all things NFL and fantasy football. Thanks for joining us. I am your host, Jeff Hasley. I'm joined by my draft brother, Dan Turner, and today we will dive into the promising career of Kendre Miller, the dynamic rookie running back who will share carries with Jamaal Williams during Alvin Kamara's impending suspension. And we invite draft analyst Shane Hallam to join us to help us break down the Saints rookie running back and explain just how excited we should be about Miller. Shane, welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you back.
No, it's good to be back. I'm excited, to talk a little more about Kendre Miller and these rookies now that we're after the draft and getting to see where these landing spots were.
Yeah. Shane is a managing partner of DraftCountdown.com. He's also co-host of the Devy Marketplace podcast, and he writes for Dynasty League Football. In short, he knows his rookies, and we're glad to have him. So let's get to it with our guy, Kendre Miller. All right, so Shane, Dan and I initially talked about Kendre Miller going way back to the college football playoffs. And this was before he tore his meniscus in his knee. What do we know about him? We know that he's 5'11", 215 pounds. That's ideal size for a running back. He's an early declare from TCU. He's young. He's only turning 21 on June 11th. And from what I know, he's a downhill runner. He breaks tackles well. I guess the important aspect of Miller is his place with the Saints and the fact that he'll likely battle with Jamaal Williams for carries, especially during Alvin Kamara's expected suspension. What can you tell us that kind of separates or differentiates Kendre Miller's skills and talents from Jamaal Williams? How do they compare?
I actually think they're pretty different. You might look on the surface and say, oh, these guys are similar builds, similar size. But I think we saw with the Lions last year, Jamaal Williams really has that good vision, that toughness, contact balance to kind of churn out some of the tough yardage, the goal line yardage, where Kendre Miller, I think, has that one-cut ability to really explode through the line of scrimmage. A lot of big holes at TCU with their run blocking scheme, but you could see him, hit the hole with the one cut, explode, and he was really tough to catch and bring down because he has that size. I also think a differentiating factor is the pass catching ability. Jamaal Williams was used in Green Bay. Catching the football really wasn't last year. I never really felt like he was a natural receiver. I think Kendre Miller has some of that natural receiver ability. The TCU offense didn't use him in that way. If you go back and watch, you can see him really have natural hands, good at bringing the ball in and turning right back into a running back after the catch. So I think there's maybe more for Kendre Miller to fill that Alvin Kamara role than may initially be anticipated, ultimately if Kamara is suspended.
Dan, question for you about Kendre Miller. Do you see him potentially having some fantasy relevance this year, especially in PPR leagues where obviously you get a point per catch?
Absolutely. I think, Shane made some great points, and especially if Kamara is suspended, you're pretty much down to Jamaal and Kendre. And in that respect, we'll definitely have some value there. Excuse me. Especially with new QB Derek Carr. You can expect, some more checkdowns that maybe Jameis Winston or someone else wouldn't have done in this offense. So I think you'll get some PPR relevance this year, and even going into the future. Maybe not as much because we expect Jamaal Williams to get like those goal line carries that he got in Detroit last year. But as a flex or a running back 4 or 5 in your fantasy leagues, yeah, I'd be comfortable taking him around there and with some upside.
Yeah, and sometimes you just have to get lucky with some of these picks. If Williams turns an ankle in preseason or week 1, week 2, and Miller is just thrust into action, and if he takes off, hey, you never know. So It seems like he has the skills and the wherewithal and the knowledge to do well when he's called upon. So, all right. So let's compare him, Miller, to other running backs, other rookie running backs. And like, would you select Miller over one of these other rookies in a rookie draft? Let's kind of get an idea of where he fits among other rookies. So I'm going to mention a name, and you tell me if you would take him ahead of Miller. So let's start. Shane, I'll start with you. Let's go with DeVon Achane in Miami. Would you rather have him or Kendre Miller in a rookie draft?
I think I'm going DeVon Achane. I know Miller was drafted first, and maybe you see the size, and you're like, oh, maybe Kendre Miller can be a lead back. But DeVon Achane was my pre-draft RB3 in this class. I think the speed and explosiveness that Achane brings, plus even more pass catching ability and some toughness for his size, I think I'll take Achane over a little more of the uncertainty with Kendre Miller. I think what hurts Miller too is we didn't see him work out before the draft. I think he's pretty athletic for his size, but we don't know it, and that worries me just a tad to put him just behind Achane.
That's true. I mentioned briefly about his torn meniscus, and although that should be fully healthy by the time he needs to be available here for training camp, it's still something to consider. Dan, what do you think, Miller or Achane?
I'm also going Achane. I think he has a much easier time for carries. He just has to pretty much beat out Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert for just guys at this point in their career. He fits perfectly into that kind of speed offense that Miami created with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So I think Miller will do well in New Orleans, but I think Achane, even at his size, he's a little smaller historically than most successful backs, but I think he can be that outlier that succeeds. Will definitely have a greater presence in fantasy, especially early on than Miller would.
Yeah. I mean, I would, as far as size, if you were to look at them back to back, I would take Miller over Achane, but I think Achane has the better role. We've seen smaller, sub 200-pound running backs do well. We saw that with Isaiah Pacheco last year. So who knows? Maybe Achane could be this year's Pacheco. Interesting. Good comparison. All right, let's go to another one. And this is someone that I'm kind of curious to see what you guys say. Zach Charbonnet, who, of course, is going to share carries with his buddy in Seattle, right? Kenneth Walker. Zach Charbonnet or Kendre Miller? Shane, what do you think?
It's tough. I think it's close. I'm going to go Zach Charbonnet. I think I'm going to play the talent here that we've seen Charbonnet, who a little bit older, but we've seen him do it consistently year after year at UCLA. He has the size and speed factor that we know. The situation's bad, but I've always been of the philosophy if you're drafting rookies for situation in Dynasty, you're gonna put yourself in a lot of trouble. I don't think that's the way to do it. I think Charbonnet is a better pass catcher than Kendre Miller, though I think Miller is underrated in that aspect. So I just think talent-wise, I'll take Charbonnet here. But it is close. I think they're pretty back-to-back in my running back rankings.
All right. Dan, what do you think? Charbonnet on Seattle or Kendre Miller?
I mean, normally I 100% agree with Shane with with talent over situation, but in this case I just can't, because it's not like Charbonnet is sitting behind this aging running back that's about to fall off a cliff. He's sitting behind a guy that was really, really good and really, really young in Kenneth Walker. So I'd have to go Miller in this case. I don't think anyone's stock got destroyed more than when Charbonnet got drafted to Seattle in this draft. So I think Charbonnet might be, and probably is more talented than Miller. I just don't see him ever getting the kind of work needed to really showcase that talent in Seattle than Kendre will be able to get in New Orleans.
All right. Interesting. All right. Two more comparisons. Let's go with Bears rookie Roschon Johnson, who will have to fight carries with Khalil Herbert as well as Deontay Foreman. Shane, Johnson or Miller?
I like Johnson a lot. I had him over Miller pre-draft, but I think I would take Miller over Roschon Johnson. I think just the NFL draft capital differential of Kendre Miller being an early third-round pick, 71st overall, versus Roschon Johnson going middle round 4 at 115 overall. it's definitely kind of the issue. I think Roschon Johnson has a shot to be Dameon Pierce this year, to be that guy drafted in round 4 that ends up winning the job and doing well. It's open for him in Chicago, so I like him. But I think Kendre Miller, like we talked about, is going to have a role this year. Like Dan said, can give you some immediate value and still has maybe more upside. So I'll take Miller here.
All right. What do you think, Dan?
I agree with everything Shane said. He made some great points. It is Miller. I really also loved Roschon, coming into the draft, but he has to, fight with Khalil Herbert and Deontay Foreman and Justin Fields now for carries. So, it's going to be difficult for him to be a standout in that group. If he can do it, I probably like him more. But like I said previously, I think Kendre can have a more immediate impact than Roschon will in the system. He doesn't have to worry about athletic quarterback taking his some goal line carries and some rushes away from him either, because Derek Carr isn't running away from anybody.
That's a good point. All right, one last comparison. Let's go with Tank Bigsby, rookie running back with Jacksonville, who's going to have to, of course, fight for playing time and carries with Travis Etienne. Shane, Bigsby or Kendre Miller?
I'll take Kendre Miller here. I like Tank Bigsby. I think he's underrated, but being behind Etienne, I think, is going to be a little more of a factor. And Kendre Miller, still has that they both have decent, similar draft capital. So I'll take Miller here.
All right. Dan, what do you think? Same direction?
So basically the same direction. Basically the same problem that Charbonnet had, where Bigsby is behind a younger ascending back in Etienne, so Miller has the advantage there in terms of playing time.
All right. Well, that's our rookie profile on Saints rookie running back Kendre Miller. Thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you, Shane, for sharing your expertise and insights on the Saints and Kendre Miller's outlook. And we value your support. Please consider subscribing and leaving a comment if you enjoyed the show. Your feedback means a lot to us, and it helps our channel greatly. Also, don't forget, download the Champions Round app and utilize the free $10 bonus code, which is Draft Bros. We have more rookie profile videos in the works, so stay tuned for that with our ongoing rookie profile series. Your entertainment is our passion. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.